Awesome. Good evening. This is Kristen Mullins, Regional Sports Director and Kayak Regional Staff Lead. Thank you for the word there. We have Melissa Anger here with us tonight helping me out with this webinar for our kayaking time trials for August 3rd. We also have Jack as our kayaking expert who's going to go over some rules later on in the webinar. So let's go ahead and get started. If you have any questions, there is the little question box. Raise your hand on the side and you can chat, and Melissa Anger is here to answer, and she can interject and let me know if there's something I need to stop for or address as we're moving through. Our agenda tonight, of course, first and foremost, if anybody has any questions on the previous slide decks from the pre-season webinar, that maybe you just recently viewed that or have questions from that webinar, you can also interject and let us know if there's something we need to cover from that. Welcome is an introduction, event qualifying schedule, facility logistics, competition rules, and Q&A. Pretty straightforward, easy. We'll get through. We have listed our games management team for this year, who's going to be in charge of running the events for both time trials and the state competition. And for those of you who I haven't met yet, that's a lovely little picture. Everybody knows Melissa. She's on the left-hand side saying, hey, I'm Kristen Mullins. I'm the one in the green shirt with the yellow hat. We also have Kendall, who's a new regional director. Some of you might have met her already. She's in charge of powerlifting and golf specifically this season. And then last but not least, wonderful Jack, who's taking care of us so wonderfully at Washington College and keeping us up to speed on what's going on in the progress of the construction and dredging at the school at this time. Our kayaking events for the time trials, as you see here, we have the 100, 500, and the 1K. The 200 is in pink because it is not an individual event, but it will still be a timed time trial. Also, we will have unified teams. Teams go first, and then the individual athletes. So the 100 and the 200 are together for time trial.
Jack's raising his hand.
Okay, hold on one second. Go ahead, Jack.
You said the 200 meter is not an event, is that right?
It's mixed with the 100 for the time trial.
Yeah, we run the 200 and catch the 100 meter split, and we do the 500 and catch the 200 meter split on the way to get both of those, so they only run one race. That's correct.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Sorry about that. The eligibility and entries for the athletes, please make sure that there is a time trial at least one time in to GMS, and your additional qualifier may be an in-house qualifier. I know weather has been quite an issue. Don't know how wet all of you guys are tonight. Probably around Maryland we've had some pretty rainy weather. So just keep that in consideration. Do the best you can to try to get a time in. I know AA County and Frederick County had to race again this weekend. Athletes and partners may enter up to 2 events, but it cannot be an athlete in the same event and then also with a partner in the same event. So on the slide down at the very bottom, I put in parentheses, it's not like the athlete cannot be in a 200 meter and then the 200 meter unified. So it needs to be 2 different races. Also differently than last year, the 1K is not an add-on or bonus race. It is only that race, that's the second race that they would like. Okay, Jack, go ahead.
Well, in the past, we have allowed 2 sprint races, the 500 and the 200, and then the long distance or 1K event as a third event. And during the pre-season webinar, I thought that was also mentioned that that was the way it was going to be.
So, Jack, since it's not as new anymore, we're not allowing that to be a bonus event. So they can be in 2 events, but not 3 this year. So if they want to be in the 1K, they can be in the 500 and the 1K. but they can't be in the 200, 500, 1K.
And what might have happened with the preseason webinar, that might have been something that we didn't catch from previous years, and myself being so new, I might have overlooked and not known that. And since then, we have looked at that issue, how many races, and have clarified. So hence, purpose for this webinar. So thank you for bringing that up so other coaches, and we can all be on the right page with how many events. So 2 events for athletes and partners.
Okay.
Thank you, Jack. Here's our schedule, and please, if you wouldn't mind, area directors, coaches, please make the schedule available to your parents, friends, and family. And you guys know just as well as I do, all of our competition times are approximate. And of course, if we were running early, we were going to run ahead of schedule, because if the water's green, water's clean, we're going to keep going. And we'd like to go ahead and be respectful of everybody in their time. Of course, weather permitting, if there's a storm, we'll delay for the safety of the athletes, but this is a schedule we are going to follow. Of course, we'll have opportunity for course preview, but just know that if you are late or running late, traffic, we will not be able to have you on the course so we can get set up with the coaches, meeting, and starting of the competition. Quick view of where we are going to be at Washington College, down at the boathouse, same as always. This picture, an aerial view, and a logo label of where we're going to be. And one thing you guys will notice that is different, we are going to have 4 lanes on the dock. I repeat, 4 lanes on the dock for time trials this year. Here's another aerial view over the water. I know Melissa and I talked about it's not to scale, but to make those lines to scale would be almost impossible. To make them so small, so tight. So this is just a kind of a visual of how we're looking at using the space, lining them up appropriately. Okay, some logistics. Please have one of your head coaches or your HOD check in for your delegation, and if there are any scratches at that time. Each kayak should be labeled with the kayakers who will be using it. So if you have a situation where your county is bringing boats that are going to be used repeatedly, over and over, shared, I guess you could say, please make sure that you have those names. Duct tape is going to be the best on the hull of those boats, just so we can direct our volunteers and our key staging volunteers to know where boats need to go to keep the flow of the competition going. During your inspection, coaches, you can accompany your kayakers onto the water during the inspection period, and you must be off the water at the appropriate time. There will be a coaches meeting on Saturday morning, as we mentioned on the previous slide, and please have a designated person who's not trying to get someone off the water, who's not already involved in something else. Please know that's very important for organization and information, that we have the right people at the meetings to hear information for the event. Parking is available next to the boathouse. It's a grass field. Please park all the vehicles there and don't block anybody in. let's be respectful and try to, park in an orderly fashion. And then all kayaks must be unloaded in the staging area and move the trailer for safety purposes. Okay, Jack.
Kristen, we may have an issue on parking in the field. It's supposed to rain on Thursday and Friday. And depending on how much we get, Ben may not want us to park out there in the field, although if we park on the high part, that always seems to stay fairly solid. But that's just a possibility.
Okay.
We may wind up parking along the road.
Thank you, Jack. Just so all of you know, I will be out down at the school both Thursday all day and Friday. We'll assess the field and send something out to everybody with as much notice as we possibly can about the parking situation. So that will, if it changes. But that information will go out to the area directors, support, and coaches, just so you know if we need to change parking location. We'll also make sure we have appropriate signage to direct friends and families and a map to know where to park. Thank you, Jack, for bringing that up and letting us know how we can be respectful of the school grounds and they're letting us use the facilities. We will have delegations areas for pop-up tents, so please make sure that you bring appropriate shade and or rain coverage. We will not provide pop-up tents for delegations. You're also expected to please share, but there will be one tent marked 100 meter with signs to please not take the chairs because that is for our timers. So please, if you see a Special Olympics tent, it will be labeled, do not take the chairs. Once competition begins, access to the pier will only be people who are involved in managing of the event. So we need to make sure that coaches, that's why you have an opportunity to, and access to the pier during course inspection. Then after that, it's training time, it's competition time. So there really shouldn't be any need for coaches to be down on the docks with their athletes. We will have medical available. Lunches will be delivered to registered delegation members. And we will have family hospitality there with limited snacks, beverages, and other items. Of course, results from the time trials will be advanced to the championships. A roster of the registrants will be provided during the week, so we'll make sure we can confirm all the correct information, the correct events, given some of the longer events if someone wants to change, and then we will report the start times. Yes, Jack, go ahead.
I am setting up the sailing dock, which is the same dock that the starters are on the end of, but there is a T portion on that that sticks out in the water. I'm setting that up so that the people who have to swap boats can do that at that dock rather than at the starting dock.
Now, is that the same that's been occurred in before?
Now it's right there next to the pier. You go out partway out the pier and then down the ramp to the docks where the starters are. But it's they just go straight out and they can switch right there. There's enough room for 4 or 5 kayaks to be swapped out, and they're right there, right next to the starting line.
Okay. We do have an inclement weather plan in place. We are going to continue with light rain, moderate rain, and of course, if the weather conditions should change, we will definitely make accommodations and we might have to postpone the competition. Of course, lightning will end the competition for safety purposes. We will have weather being monitored. Like Jack said, we already are predicting some rain on Thursday and Friday, but we will note and get with head coaches, area directors as soon as possible with any specific weather-related issues. So please be patient. We know about traveling, but we are kind of at the whim of the weather, and we would like the competition to occur within reason, and of course, safety being the primary focus for the athletes. Some rules specific to the 100, 200, and 500 straight events. Please make sure your athletes, if they travel outside of their lane, it will have a penalty. Completing or trying to attempt to get back to their proper lane, they must get back into their assigned lane. And if they are fully outside of their lane, it will be considered a disqualification if they impede. 1K kayak race, the kayak that is in the lead has the right of way at all times. The kayak in behind must yield to the lead kayak. Disqualifications, once again, the disqualifications as previously noted on the slide before. There will not be reruns, but of course, in some cases, or protests, anything that we feel it will be at the discretion of the competition management team to ensure safety, to ensure accuracy, and time and effort of the athlete. Of course, maximum effort rule, it will be enforced upon a protest being filed by the head coach of an athlete.
Hey guys, it's Melissa. I got a question from one of the coaches and just wanted to share it with everyone so that you're all aware. with the switch to only be in 2 events, if you have already signed your athlete up for 3 events, you can email myself or Kristen and let us know which event to take them out of. And you will confirm with Mike Zarnowski at the registration on site what events they are in. Okay, so you're going to confirm with Mike. And to make it easier, you can always email myself or Kristen ahead of time, and we'll scratch them out. But make sure you double check that with Mike at registration so they're in the right events.
And that checking with Mike can be done just by the end of the day. It may get a little hectic trying to do that when folks are checking in, but just stop by before the end of the day. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mike, and thank you, Melissa. Divisioning and competition schedules will be distributed no later than Thursday night of the week leading up to the event. Once again, I will be putting together the lanes with Jack, so hopefully we will make sure that this is out in appropriate amount of time before I leave. And of course, you will receive your on-site packet once you are head of delegation or your head coach once you check in with Mike. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Jack now with some rule reminders. Wait, say it again. Actually, Melissa has one more thing she'd like to take questions.
So I just got another question from a coach, and if you have an athlete in the 1K, then they cannot be in the 200. So if they're in the 1K, they can only be in the 500. If they're in the 100, they can only be in the 200. If they're in the 500, they can be in the 200 or the 500. So it has to be a budding. Okay. Yeah. So they can't be in the 1K and the 100, or even the 100 and the 500. Okay. So if they want to be in the 1K, the only other event they can be in is the 500.
Okay, Jack. Rules are on you.
Okay. First off, can everybody hear me?
They should be able to.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First off, as people look down the course from start to finish, the buoy colors will start on the left will be red, then yellow, then red, then yellow, and then red. So your 2 outside lines will have red buoys on them. We will have large buoys at the finish lines for the 100, the 200, and the 500, but only on the outside holes of the course rather than across the course, because people tend to run into them and hang up on them. Are there any other questions? Hello?
Hey, Jack, just keep going because Melissa is watching the people who are raising their hands, and I'll interject and let you know if someone has a question, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
That's it. The rules are that you have here, the rules reminders, that's good. That's complete. Okay, on the kayak, the flotation devices, most of them have, the new kayaks all have float chambers in them. But if you don't, please put the beach ball or appropriate flotation in to make them so that the people who have to rescue them don't have to go swimming to try to save them. Most of the boats will have the names and the size on them, but this is all right. Go ahead and do it. Remember, the maximum length of any boat is 16 feet, and the minimum width is 22 inches. Well, all of our boats that I know of meet that requirement, and no rudders or steering devices in them. And we will have one powerboat on the water for safety, and we will have 2 available with drivers to go out if needed. If we get more than 1 boat running back and forth, it becomes a problem with wake and other stuff. So we try to keep that down. We'll have some kayaks out there on the water to help out too. That's it. Oh, okay. Remember that the starter is going to be right there with your paddlers as far as the starting line is concerned. It's a held start. The paddlers will be aimed down the course so that they wind up in the middle of the lane no matter where they start and no matter what the weather conditions. And the starter is approximately 20 feet away from where the kayakers are lined up. So there's no issue in terms of being able to hear or anything like that. The coaching, we've been over that before. If an athlete falls out of their kayak during a race, this is true. As long as nobody helps them to get back in the boat, if they can get back in the boat and paddle it without assistance, that's fine. They can continue, but if they need assistance, then they're automatically out of the race.
Hey, Jack, we did have a request for you to please repeat the buoy and colors again. If
Okay,
you just want to.
As you're looking down the course, as you're looking down the course, okay, lane 1 is on the left-hand side. It's the farthest one out, okay? You will start the color buoys that go down the lines. We'll have red, then yellow, then red, then yellow, and then red. So lane 1 will have a red on the left, a yellow on the right. Lane 2 will have a yellow on the left and a red on the right. Lane 3 will have a red on the left and a yellow on the right. Lane 4 will have a yellow on the left and a red on the right.
Thank you, Jack. And we actually have 2 questions. Al Jank has 2 questions, has 1, and there's others. Are you just going to open it, or are you going to ask? Okay, Al's going to ask the question. Okay, Jack?
Yeah.
Okay, Al, go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I think we answered most of my questions already. But on that, let me just run this by because I was writing this stuff down, and then what I had visioned regarding the buoys wasn't what I was, didn't exactly line up with what you said. So lane 1, which will be the furthest one, never mind. I just figured it out. Got it.
Do you have any other questions?
Kristen, if you publish that photograph I showed with the buoys up against the dock, that'll give people a visual idea. Other than the outside of lane 4, they won't see the red buoy there.
I thought about that, but I wanted to wait until after you talked about it tonight before sending it.
Yeah.
So now everybody kind of has a visual, an idea of what we're sending them. So thank you. Who is the next question? Jim Russell, you have a question? You should be ready, Jim. Jim? Okay, well, I guess Jim does not have a question anymore.
Kristen?
Yes?
Okay, what you didn't mention in this is that both for the time trials and the games on the 26th, we will have full use of the pavilion.
Okay, we don't want to. We're just talking about the time trials right now. We don't want to go.
The pavilion is available for use also.
Okay. Jim, if you're listening, you need to unmute your computer to be able to speak. We have it ready for you. Okay, while Jim is unmuting, Melissa has a question or a response.
So I misspoke earlier. I apologize. If your athlete wants to be, if you want to put your athlete in the 200 and 1K, that's fine. They just can't be in the 100 and 500 or 1K. So if they want to be in the 200 and 1K, that's 100% okay. I apologize for that, and we'll make sure that gets sent out in the email as well, in the follow-up email, so that is clarified. So for that, for the time trials, they'll have to race the 1K time trial and the 100, 200 time trial so that we can get that time for the 200.
Jack, can you hear me okay?
I hear.
Okay, Jim, are you on with your question? Okay, Jim's good. Was there one more question? Okay. All right, it doesn't look like we have any other questions. Okay, Al, sorry, we're watching this feed live as it happens, and questions are popping up, so sorry if it sounds a little confusing on your end from what you see, but we're watching as things are coming in at in the moment. Okay, so rule reminders. Okay, so we are going to open it up to any other further questions that someone might have about the event. I'm really looking forward to a great kayaking event. Jack, you've done a tremendous amount of work getting Washington College prepared and ready for us. I'm really looking forward to learning how to set the buoys and set the lines with you, and I think you've done a great job really thinking about how it's going to work with the 4 lines. But yes, we do have one question from Al. Al, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to get that clarified for my 2 folks that are doing the 2 that I have signed up for the 200 and the 1K. Absolutely clear on running the 1K time trial. To get their 200 time, have them go with the when they're running the 100/200 meter time trials.
Yes, exactly. That's
okay,
why
got it.
Yeah. Thank you,
okay.
Al.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah, that's so they're not doing the whole 500 because they don't need it. And I really do appreciate all these questions. The questions now help clarify and help prepare us for the competition and help keep the issues and the other things going on day of event to a minimum because everybody's getting the right information. We're getting things clarified now. So I really appreciate your time and thank you for attending the webinar. Do we have another question?
Mike Myers.
Mike Myers. Mike. Right now? Okay, Mike, you wanted to talk about do you want me to go back to that slide?
Mike, about land violation.
Yeah, go back to that slide because what you said was counter to some of the stuff that's been that one right there.
Okay.
So just making sure that people were reading it as opposed to just listening to what you said because you crossed a couple of them as you were explaining them. Yeah, it's no big deal. That's why I waited to the end to bring it up. So if they fully travel outside their lane, if they just nose out of their lane and get themselves back without going out, and they don't get in anybody's way, there's 0 penalties for that. If they go all the way outside of their lane, there's a 5-second penalty, unless they impede another athlete, in which case they would be disqualified.
The way you explained it sounds a lot clearer. Thank you for that.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
You were trying to get there, and you were talking yourself around a couple of those points.
Mike?
There is one other clarification with that. Thank you for rephrasing it, and that is if they don't finish the race in their own lane,
right,
their own lane, that is also a disqualification. So if
Correct.
they go out of the lane completely, they get a 5-second penalty. They still have to come back into their own lane and finish the race in their own lane, or it's a disqualification.
Mike? Hello?
Yes.
Let me clarify that you're going out the lane. The buoys are spaced 20 meters apart, which is 65 feet, approximately 4 boat lengths. If they don't pass a buoy when they go out of lane, you're saying then there will not be a penalty. Is that right? If they go out of their lane and do not pass a buoy and get back in their lane before they get to the next buoy, then there's no penalty. But if they go out of their lane and go past a buoy before coming back in the lane, then is there a penalty?
I don't. The special rules don't make any distinction between passing a buoy or not. It's if their entire kayak goes out of their lane. That that it counts as being out of their lane.
Okay.
But luckily, we haven't had that kind of an issue very much at all.
Now the buoys we use kind of create a fence-like appearance, which seems to help them stay in their lanes.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay, so I think we have no other questions. Thank you so much, Mike, for stepping in and interjecting, and Mike, and of course, Mike Myers, clearly has all rights of making that statement because he has been at the start line he runs the event from the line, so he's the one who could best put my jumbled words into clear words. So once again, I really do appreciate everybody being on the webinar tonight. If you do have any further questions, please contact myself or any of the other regional sports directors, and I'm looking forward to meeting all of you next weekend. Let's hope for good vibes and good weather. Have a great night, everyone.
Good night.